It's Pod on Lansdowne. Jake Fitz and Liam here as always, and we are joined by none other than Jordan Schusterman of Cespedes Family Barbecue. Jordan, thank you for taking some time out of your day. I know you mentioned that you got some writing to do after talking with us schmucks, but we do appreciate you chatting with us during this absolutely abysmal baseball game. I guess my first question right off the bat is, what the fuck is Johan Ramirez's deal? What is this? We were just talking about him off the record, but what's going on here?
Johan is not something that the Johan experience is not one that can be condensed into a single podcast. I think he is someone whose stuff has tantalized good and bad teams so frequently. I mean, think about this, guys. He's now appeared for four teams this year in various stages of competitive cycles, right? The Mets, remember, this is the
early Mets.
Yeah, the early Mets, right? Exactly. The early embarrassing Mets. The Orioles somehow for 5 games. The Dodgers, 27 times the Dodgers ran him out there.
He threw almost 30 innings for the Dodgers. Yeah. That's blowing my mind.
Yeah. And then after allowing, I believe, like 13 runs over his last 4 Dodgers appearances, they were like, all right, fine. We're done. Red Sox, you can have him. And he's like,
and then we might be done after this. You say we can't.
Yeah, he's only getting one with us. He's only getting one with us.
You say we can't boil down the experience to one podcast. We might be able to boil down the experience to one game. Way this is going Wednesday.
Well, right. We are recording this in the middle of this second game as the Mariners have jumped out to I'll put it this way, guys, as we transition to whatever it is that you want to talk about, which is presumably the Mariners and the Red Sox and the trade deadline. If the Mariners are scoring 10 runs against you,
you're
not having a good time. Now it's a better team.
Wrong.
It's a better team than
however, I think only maybe 4 of them are earned or 5 of them are earned. I think.
Let's keep that ERA low, baby. This is true. Hey, by the way, this is a Red Sox specialty. Let us recall that the first, 2 months of the season when they were averaging an error a game, and that was like the reason, at least part of why their ERA was lower than everybody else.
When David Hamilton couldn't field, right? Then he kind of figured it out.
This is truly like, I feel like it's 2023 again. James Paxton's on the hill. The defense is a mess.
Yeah, it's a fun little throwback game. It's like old timers day, but it's just like April and May of the same year.
Yo, you wish you had a scoreless inning from Cooper Criswell last year. That would have been, you could have used a few of those from Big Coop.
The Coop Troop, baby. We are proud members of the Coop Troop. But again, Jordan, we really thank you for taking some time today. Hey, we love the Lowell Spinners hat, by the way. Absolutely.
Yes.
Rest in peace, baby. Rest in peace.
Yes, R.I.P. Gone but never forgotten up in Lowell there, up on the North Shore. And I did want to get started by talking about these Mariners, because although we are appreciative to have you on the podcast this week, we kind of picked a bad time to do a summary of the Mariners, because this is the last time we're playing you this year, this upcoming Wednesday. The day it drops is the last time we're playing Seattle in the regular season. We'll see what happens in October. But all in all, as we stand here, post-trade deadline just passed a couple of hours ago. What's the feeling up at the Pacific Northwest between all the fans of the Mariners and whatnot?
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, very busy day here on deadline day for me. And because of that, I was offline, or at least off of my personal account where I follow all the Mariners people. And, it's interesting because of how bad it had gotten. Obviously, they blow a 10-game lead to Houston. They get swept at home by the Angels. One of the worst. I mean, they have injuries too, and the offense is just abysmal. So that's kind of setting the stage going into last weekend against this team called the White Sox, aka maybe the worst team of all time, which that'll get anybody right, as we've seen.
Nah, not so much. Not if you play them 4 games on the south side and you split 2-2 like we did.
I noticed that actually, because when they got mopped last week by Texas, I was going back and looking at all the 4-game series the White Sox have played this year, and that was, I believe, their most successful one.
It really should have been 3 or 4. They should have won that last game on that Sunday.
True.
So
we had it tied in the 9th.
But anyway, I bring that up as a prelude because we just recorded our podcast and reviewing every team and giving grades to every team. And because of how few like legitimate impact players ended up moving at the deadline, I line up what Seattle did compared to all the other teams, and I think they did about as good as anybody else. Like truly, like I think, because I think Jake said it really well. It's like, how do you really grade a deadline? Is you get someone that can start a postseason game.
Not the other Jake, not me,
not
Jake.
you, Jake. Sorry, the one I work
Gotcha.
with.
Not
You might have also said this at some point.
I may have.
You never know.
Speak to that. But yeah, so my co-host Jake Mintz said this well on the pod today, which is like, you judge a deadline. It's like, did you get someone that can pitch high leverage innings in October, that could start a playoff game, that can hit, in the top 5-year lineup or play every day, right? That's really what you're judging really any deadline on at the end of the day, how good you're feeling. And the Mariners got Jimmy Garcia, who could pitch high leverage innings if he's healthy. Randy Arozarena, arguably the best bat that changed the deadline. Justin Turner, another like at least everyday hitter. That on its own is more than what most of the good teams are at the top of the standings did. And so while then I bring it up, why was I offline? Okay, great. I log back on and Mariners fans are still furious and saying this is a failure that they didn't do more because of all these things. And like, I get that, but I'm also like, listen, you compare this to all these other deadlines, which is maybe not the most fair way to do it. And I'm like, I don't know, guys. I feel like they did pretty well, all things considered. Once it became clear that, Vlad Jr. wasn't moving or even Yandy Diaz wasn't moving, I feel like they did pretty well. So I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Anywhere, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like they did pretty well. It is still not an awesome offense, but if they can get healthy, if Julio can get back, obviously they have a rotation that is capable of special things. So I think that the front office realized that, and that's how they acted.
And you mentioned the expectation compared to other teams. I think it's also important to note, and we had mentioned this during our regular episode. I forget if it was before we're putting this interview in or after we put this interview in. I think it was before. But we mentioned that this is a seller's market as it stands right now. It definitely favors the teams, because with an expanded playoff and it's still, the calendar technically not even turning over into August, more teams are still in the mix. And
I wanted to ask Jordan that.
Do you want to take the baton and take it, Jake?
I didn't know if you were asking what I was talking. Do you think? Do you agree? We were saying that the trade deadline should be moved back, or I guess 2 weeks later on the calendar.
I was getting to this, Jake. Yes.
Yeah,
that's what I was working towards.
Well, all right.
I've been asked this before. I'm not convinced it would really make that much of a difference. Like, I think that, and maybe that's part of the problem with just like where the league is at, where it's just like there's so much mediocrity that these teams just kind of end up stuck in the middle. So yeah, I guess in theory, this would give it more times for teams like the Giants to fall out of it, or teams like the Pirates or Reds or whatever to fall out of it. But it's like, it's also giving those same extremely blah teams the time to go on a stupid 6-game win streak that puts them back towards buyers. Yeah. And so, I mean, I don't really think I would change anything that dramatically about it. I know this is just our instinct as sports fans. Is like, we go through these cycles, we go through these events on the calendar, and then this is true for the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. Oh, the Home Run Derby was boring. We have to change it. It's like, okay, no, like, every time it's different. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. Sometimes it's more interesting. Like, we don't have to just change everything immediately. And my God, like, baseball has changed a lot recently. Like, we've already changed so much about the league and rules on field and just around, all kinds of stuff. So I get it. I'm not sure that is really what would achieve what we want, which is more delineation, right? Once you put the extra wild card in, kind of hard to put that, back in the can. It's kind of, you're going to kind of leave that open, and really you end up with teams like Texas and the Giants are the teams that really stand out, where, I mean, we were like, oh, they could really have a lot to move, and then they did nothing, and they like fake added and fake sold. And so those are the teams
Hey,
where you're really.
we've been there.
Yeah.
We know.
No,
we
I
know
know,
that one.
and absolutely, 100%.
Every
You guys,
year, every
you guys
year.
know it as well as anyone, and I don't want to, turn this on you around on you guys, but when I don't remember what grade I gave the Red Sox, but I think I said it was still something closer to. I likened them and the Mets in a similar way, not necessarily big picture, but in the like your roster has proven that like you're good enough to like have a chance, and I feel like they've earned more upgrades than the front office ultimately gave them. That's how I feel about what the Mets did, and that's kind of how I feel about what the Red Sox did. But I'm curious what you guys think.
Yeah, I would say, and again, we mentioned this sort of earlier as we were recording before you came on here. My thought of it is, well, they addressed the bullpen issues that they needed. The bullpen was reeling with some injuries. They needed some reinforcements there, and they took care of that. Sims, although I don't love the fact that he walks a ton of guys, he misses a lot of bats and doesn't give up a ton of bad, like hard contact. So I'll definitely take that. Quinn Priester, which, by the way, someone brought to the attention you and Jake's Quinn Priester. So we are going to be abusing the hell.
So good.
Do you know the origins of that?
I followed you guys for years, but I must have missed that specific aspect of it.
I'm so glad I get to talk about this because.
So yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
I don't know if you retweet it, whatever. Definitely a clip that I hope gets reused all the time. So please.
Oh, if he hits, it'll certainly.
Yeah,
or if he sucks, we'll probably use it too.
winner.
Actually,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and the thing about the Priester here, I'm going to give you 20 seconds of real analysis, and then we can get to the hilarious video that you're referencing. I like Quinn Priester, but it's like, is he helping right now? Like, if Bailey, really goes to work, I guess, but like that's more of okay, right? Young, controllable starting pitching, and we can, figure. It's like smart, nice, fine, right? Maybe you decide you don't need Nick York. Like I get it, right? Flipping depth of offensive players for a young pitcher who's team controlled, like I get it, right? But again, it's like, all right, but what did we just watch tonight, gentlemen?
Well,
watch Johan Ramirez stink up.
No, but before that, right? Before
that was our defense. Right? James did well today.
Yeah. And hey, Red Sox, we're coming back here. Mariners bullpen can blow it, so we got some time. 10-6 Mariners here in the bottom of the seventh. But
10-6? Hey, I was going to say,
what? When did that happen?
Boys.
Big Dom come through.
Oh.
The key to doing what I do for a living is watching many things at once. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, but the video you're referencing, which I don't know if you retweeted it or posted it or whatever. Connor Wong fly out. Sorry, guys.
Okay, we're chipping away.
Well, now I can focus on the video at least because I just saw the Big Dom
You're welcome.
RBIs, so.
You're welcome. Trying to lock you guys back in. Quinn Priester. There's a video of Jake Mintz, not you, Jake, and I at a podium, very excitedly repeating the name Quinn Priester in sort of a kind of a Beastie Boys style hype moment.
8 Mile final battle kind of situation. Everybody in the 313, Quinn Priester.
Quinn Priester. Right. Okay. So let me explain. I'm so glad this is what we're talking about instead of literally anything else.
This is the important stuff.
No. This is so good because truly, I haven't had any reason to talk about this video in 5 years, which is how old it is. Okay, so in 2019, we hosted a show called Change Up, which was on the channel DAZN, D-A-Z-N, which is known more for their boxing coverage in the United States. Anyway, the point is they had a show called Change Up, which was produced out of MLB Network. This is when I was still living in New York, and we did that. We hosted the weekend edition of that show in 2019. Excuse me. And so that year, which you may recall, or at least you will recall now because he's on your team, Quinn Priester was drafted in 2019. He was a first-round pick. Before the draft in 2019, okay, because this show that we produced out of MLB Network, we just had access to the MLB Network studios all the time. This is when the draft was still at MLB Network. In fact, it was, I guess, the last one that was ever in MLB Network because obviously there was a pandemic in 2020. I don't know if you guys saw that. And then in 2020, and then in 2021,
you guys hear about this?
Yeah. It was actually one of the best things that ever happened to the Red Sox. Let's be honest.
That's right, and I've said it many times on this show.
Great spin zone.
I've said it many times on this show.
I said this when I saw Liam in Boston recently. We talked about the one of the great tank jobs in baseball history.
Yes,
Time masterclass.
Which especially now that Marcelo Meyer is about to be awesome. Okay, anyway,
Vanessa Hudgens video, and you're like, yeah, a lot of people died, but like,
right, that was a low point.
Well, yeah,
that was a low point, but listen, Bloom absolutely nailed it. Anyway, okay, so
are you a member of the Bluminati, Jordan?
Dude,
oh.
That's a
you are.
That's a
big time.
You
all right, yeah. All right, finish your story. Yeah.
Say that forever. 2019 draft, right? MLB Network Studios. Literally the day before the draft, because the draft or whatever, at least a couple within 72 hours of the draft, where Rob Manfred stepped up to that same podium. Okay, we shot a video that was the MLB mock draft. Okay, and I'll find the full clip. And I'll send it along because obviously we expert. And basically what it was it was us stepping up to the podium and predicting some of the picks in the first round and like presenting them in like the most ridiculous ways possible. That was like the bit, is like stepping up to the actual podium that Rob Manfred will step up to, and like either obviously the Quinn Priester one. But the funniest thing about the Quinn Priester one is because we were just guessing. We were like with the fifth pick, the so-and-so's take. I think we were like the Braves take Josh Young or something, whatever. We had a bunch of random ones. But one of them, because all of the mock drafts for like 2 months knew that the Pirates were going to take Quinn Priester, the full clip is us saying 2 days before the draft with the 18th pick, the Pittsburgh Pirates select Quinn Priester. And then, but what it is the full clip is like, is a even more embarrassing version, an extended version of the Quinn Priester clip that you are referencing now. So I will send you the full clip.
Oh, the director's cut.
And you will see it. Well, I mean, this is online. It's like on, Jake sent this to me at some point. So I'll send this to you and you can either put this in the pod or just or tweet it out. But it is an all-timer. And
POL exclusive, the uncut.
Yeah, right.
But, well, no,
Quinn Priester clip
from the archives.
It's you can find it. I'll get the link out. But the point is that like that was so funny because then they actually picked him. So then we were just like using it all of the time. That like this is how we think about Quinn Priester. And my understanding, Jake told me that he has talked to Quinn Priester about that video. and so he's seen it. So he knows that we've been on the Priester hype train for a long time. My wife, on the other hand, cannot stand to watch that video. She thinks it's one of the most embarrassing things we've ever done. And so, which is fair, but I'm proud of it. And I hope that it gets great use when Andrew Bailey
it's gonna have a second life.
As a fellow wife guy who does ridiculous baseball related shit and has his wife roll his eyes, that speaks brilliantly to me there, Jordan. And that's a good transition into something I wanted to mention. I've been, like I had mentioned a few minutes ago.
Marriage.
My wife, the old ball and chain, right, guys? No. I've been following you and Jake for years at this point. I'm sure the other two boys can attest the same. And obviously, it's good to listen to you guys, read you guys because of your baseball analysis there, your expertise in that range. But it's also so fun because you guys can clearly tell how much you both love the game and love just shooting the shit with each other. What makes, I guess, what is that secret sauce that makes the Cespedes family barbecue recipe work to keep it with a barbecue food kind of thing? I don't know if you guys noticed what I did there, but
thanks.
Hey,
you got it.
So I would say that, like, big picture, like, honestly, the story I just told is like mildly instructive, where like we just really like this stuff, and like Quinn Priester kind of like moments like that. Now, we've been very lucky to have the opportunities to work at these places and get to work in MLB Network and whatever. But generally, and this is why I think you guys do a great job too, is really all that matters. Like at first it was like, okay, well, we can't out analyze the people that are already doing this. When we were in college, it was like, well,
you'd be surprised. There's some really stupid people who do analysis.
Correct. That's correct. You're not wrong. But at the time it was like, listen, like we're not going to be able to out whatever, analyze or insight, whatever. Like we like to think we know what we're talking about, but let's have a good time. let's make sure we do know what we're talking about, so that the jokes are rooted in knowledge and context, and kind of bringing as many people into the sport as possible, like letting it all be accessible, letting it all be enjoyable, and then just like really caring, right? And caring about every level, and not getting, too stuck on one thing. And I mean, I've talked to Liam about this, but I've talked to anyone who asks, like, what does he like? We don't get tired of it because we do all of it, right? Because we do the draft, because we do college baseball, because we do the Little League World Series and the KBO and the World Baseball Classic and whatever. I don't really get bored.
Winter Leagues in the Caribbean.
Winter Leagues, 100%, right? Like,
There's always something.
There's always something on. And so it's all there for you if you spend the time to understand what makes each kind of part of baseball special. And then for me, for me personally, especially doing like amateur and draft stuff recently, like ultimately you do it for long enough and you care long enough and you spend enough time and you get lucky enough to do it for a job that now, especially now that we're whatever BBWAA and get to be in clubhouses all the time, whatever, now we still are trying to maintain the same attitude while also actually providing real insight and real access and real informed content, right? Because at some point, I mean, there's obviously still value, as you guys show, in just liking a team and having a good time with your friends. Like, that is absolutely a path forward.
No.
If you're not like a complete dunce, right? Not that that's preventing people from making content, but I just mean that I just think that quality wise, there's obviously space for that, especially for markets like Boston. But for us personally, it's really about doing as much of it as possible, as well as possible, so that we're kind of ready to go in any context. And so that's why I love being invited to stuff like this, because I do just want to talk about one team with people that know that one team, right? And just be able to do all of that, because if I get to do this for a living and I get to go out and meet people and meet fans, whether it's at the All-Star game or whatever, like, I want to be ready to talk about their team, because ultimately the fans are the whole reason any of this works. So that's what drives anything. And that's true. Players say that, and it's true. And I feel that way about someone who gets to do it for a living.
Is there one moment that you can specifically pinpoint, to put you on the spot a little bit? Is there one moment that you can specifically pinpoint to and say, like, this is so bizarre that I'm at this intersection of providing that access that fans of any team could appreciate while still doing the goofy shit? When you're at that intersection, you realize, like, holy crap, I'm at this point. Is there one that comes to mind when you think about that?
I mean, like, there's a lot of like player specific interactions over the years that stand out. Some that just age incredibly. Like, one of them is doing a mini home run derby in Salem, Virginia with a 19-year-old Rafael Devers. It's like one of the coolest.
Bonus points for a Red Sox anecdote.
Like,
there you go.
Like, that is.
I forgot about that throwback.
That is, which we did in our road trip in 2016.
What was he, like 19?
Yeah, he was 19. He still had braces.
Yeah.
And it was, oh my God, now I'm so embarrassed. Who was the other random prospect? It was him and
let's work
Moncada?
this. No, although I have a funny story about that too. That same trip, this is a good random story. Again, I have 100 of these from the road trip. That same road trip, we interviewed Moncada in Portland, and because the minor leagues don't actually have like translators, it was Nick Longy. I don't know if you know that name.
Oh my God!
But Nick Longy. It was Nick Longy and Rafael Devers.
I was just about to pull up like the organizational.
Yes, you can
2016
time.
Sox prospects.
Yeah, 20. You could, if you look up Rafael Devers mini home run derby Cespedes BBQ videos on MLB.com. One of the best things we've ever done. But yeah, it was Devers and Nick Longy, because I remember showing up and we were like, we want to do something with Devers. At this point, he knows like very little English, if any. But we were like, yeah, literally all you have to do is come out here and hit a bunch of foam balls with the plastic bat. And he was like, all right, sounds good. I don't have to say anything.
What's his quote when he's taking BP? He's like, I hit ball hard. What does he say? Fitz, you always tweet it.
Every day I feel great. Like, I hit good. They pay me good.
Yeah.
I feel great.
Yeah.
This is before they paid him good. But like, no, but like we did that, and then like 2 years later, he's like in the World Series. I'm like, oh my god, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. And then, sorry to finish my story. Moncada that same year, we interviewed him in Portland, and again, they don't have translators there. So who translated for us? This skinny kid named Mauricio Dubon, who at the time I was like, I was like, when he first, I was like, he like translated for us, incredibly nice, what a guy. Then afterwards, I was like, wait a minute. That was Mauricio, like this skinny kid who's like also one of their top prospects. Like, what a nice gesture for him. And then he's obviously had an interesting career. So, again, I'm rambling, but the Devers one is a perfect. That's a perfect example. I'm not just Red Sox pandering here. Like that's a great
Jordan.
one.
I think the Dubon nugget.
Can you tell me who the Red Sox traded Dubon for? Who that deal was?
He's been traded like 3 times since then. So
yeah,
I'm rusty. So who is it?
Oh, it's a Deal and Dave disaster class.
It's Tyler Thornburg. And and Travis Shaw went to the Brewers as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah. That's a bad one. That's a bad one.
Dude, this team right now could really use peak Tyler Thornburg, which really only existed for 1 year.
Yeah, we didn't even get. He sucked in Boston. I don't even think we got a good.
He threw maybe 20 innings.
Bottom of the ninth. You need 3 outs. Do you go to Tyler Thornburg or Carson Smith? That's the real question.
Give me Carson
back
Smith.
to back. Those trades were back to back off season.
On.
Always
catastrophic.
Well, listen. Honestly, now that you got me on, just like ridiculous.
What did he punch the dugout? Is that what happened?
He threw his glove and I think broke his hand doing that. I think that's what it was. Something along those lines.
All right. Well, guess what? Carson Smith, one of my all-time favorite Mariners. I don't care what happened to him in Boston. I was there 2015. This is the first time I was at then Safeco Field. And it was at the end of our road trip. We did San Diego to Seattle that year. And we saw Felix pitch that weekend against the Rays. But the real big moment was in the beginning of June when Carson Smith... So Fernando Rodney at the time was just a catastrophe. Like this is like, it was so bad to the point where people had signs in 2015. Again, he still goes on to, he's still pitching, by the way, Fernando Rodney in the Winter League. They had signs.
2015, then he's on like the 2019 Nats. Like he's got the World Series. Right?
Yes.
Absolutely absurd.
But this game that Felix started Saturday, June 6, 2015, people had signs because Rodney had been so bad that said impeach Rodney because he was the closer. Okay, right? And you want to know why why fans were so passionate about that? Because who did they want to see instead?
Carson Smith.
Big Carson.
Carson Smith. And I was there for Carson Smith to come into that game, 1-run game against Tampa, first career save. People went crazy. It was literally as if Mariano Rivera was coming out for save 600.
Start of a new era.
It was like this guy is the best, and he was unbelievable that season. And then
That's it. I'm looking at his BREF right now. He literally had 1 season. Yeah.
And then he was gone for Wade Miley and Jonathan Aro, and that was it.
He threw his glove and he dislocated his shoulder in the process. So that's what happened there.
Shit out of that glove, God.
Fitz, I'll tell you, as a man who's dislocated his shoulder many times, it's not that hard.
Especially when you've got when you got his stuff. Whew.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my
Jake
God.
and Liam, did you guys have any other questions? Because
I have
one
highly
more.
specific question for you.
Please. Good.
Okay, so back in the day, this
podcast hasn't been specific enough.
So this was 2014. This was 2014 when the Athletics traded Mr. Yoenis Cespedes to our Red Sox. No. But I want to ask. So you guys changed the avatar. You recolored it to the Red Sox.
Oh my God, I still have that saved.
And he's, and then you recolored it again for the Tigers and then again for the Mets. And it's still the Mets. I wanted to ask, will it always stay the Mets colors now?
Wow, amazing.
Have there been discussions about this?
That is such a good question. I have honestly struggled with this because I can't even remember. This is shame on me because this is obviously such a big part of the hashtag brand. Someone made these Photoshops for us, and I don't even they've sent them to us.
And you're not even going to give them credit right now?
No, I know. No, seriously. But this was years ago. and I couldn't like go back and find the original. So I remember it's so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've thought to go back and find the original.
The A's colors.
Change it back to the A's.
Yeah,
like that's what I've
Return
wanted
guide
to
for
do.
the assessment.
but you can't.
can't
It's
find
gone.
it.
Is it lost
Lost
media?
media.
Yeah.
I can't find the original image.
Oh, all right. Well, it's staying
And
Mets then, I guess.
so, yeah, it definitely will never be Red Sox.
I have the Red
under
Sox
any
one. I can send it to you. Don't worry.
That's amazing. I'm glad.
Yeah,
It's in a
what if
drop-
you just
it's in a
made it the Red
Dropbox
Sox one
somewhere.
tomorrow? You didn't say anything about it or whatever. It was just
Listen,
Guerrilla marketing.
We pretend like those 2 months never happened. Let's be honest.
They were special. I watched him take King Felix to the moon at Fenway once. It's one of my favorite.
I
Fenway
do remember
memories.
that. I do remember that. I don't think I remember anything else that happened.
He had a big walk-off against the Blue Jays in September. There was also that. Those are my
I
two
don't even
moments
remember that.
Oh, and he
I
took
don't
Jonathan
recall.
Broxton deep in Cincinnati after
Jonathan
Broxton went up and in on
Here's
him.
the thing, though.
That's all
Liam,
I
where are
got.
you pulling the? How do you remember every fucking home
Okay.
run that Cespedes
Man, I
hit
was
on the Red Sox?
I was
He was there
locked
for 2
in those
months.
years.
Gentlemen,
I was locked in
gentlemen,
once he got there.
Let's just. But here's the thing. This is why, like,
I got the
anytime,
shirt and everything, Jake.
anytime I talk about Yo's career, it's like the gift that keeps on giving because, like, this dude then was traded for someone that won a Cy Young. Like that
He
is
sure was.
absurd.
He sure was.
And it's absurd, right? Like there's so many parts, like all of the trades he was involved with, all of the goofy stuff on the field, off the field, all of it. It's like every thing is just, it's like, oh, right, that happened. Oh, right, that happened. Oh, right, that happened. Right? Like the dude didn't have like a normal day in his life. His entire
Oh my God, we were talking about it.
career.
Yeah, when he
We
went
were talking
missing.
about it during the- yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Was that
dude,
the COVID year?
yes.
Or was
Talk about a low point of
That
my
was
COVID
wild.
experience was, and again,
Well,
this
he was also traded for a guy that won Rookie of the Year.
this was the Mets' fault.
Another
Okay.
thing.
Like that was a terrible time. The
Yeah.
Mets were like, "Yeah, we don't know where he is." I'm like, really? That's the best way to
What do you
handle this?
mean? What do you mean?
Yeah.
He'll wind up.
So anyway,
He'll show up somewhere. So Jordan,
anyway,
we don't
guys,
want-
we were all over the place. I feel bad. We didn't actually really talk about real stuff.
No,
Oh,
that's,
that's
fine.
exactly.
That's
what
kind of
the-
our
well,
thing.
that's
We don't
fine.
really. Yeah.
Yeah.
We did like an
last
hour before you came on, and I think we hit
All
on this year's Red Sox for like 10 minutes, maybe.
The last thing I did want to mention up is extremely real because I don't know if I'll ever have this opportunity again. You feel like the perfect person to do this, and again, not to put you on the spot, but I have to know very quickly. Outside of Pablo Sanchez, your top 5 backyard baseball players.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I
Because
mean,
you can't say
literally-
Pablo. That's a cop
He's
out.
got the bobbleheads right behind him.
I mean,
It's got
shouts
to
out
be
to
Pete, I
the,
think.
shouts out to the Lansing Lugnuts. So the thing is like obviously I have a Pete bobblehead because if it exists, I'm obviously going to have one of those. But I don't know. I wasn't really that much of a Pete guy. Like if we're being real, like Angelo Del Vecchio is probably from a pitching standpoint. I think we spend a lot of time talking about the lineups. Oh, what's your lineup? Which is fair, but to me, Angelo Del Vecchio is kind of the pitcher that was my ace.
Horse.
And, it's nice to have Randy
Horse on the
Johnson,
mound.
but it's like that's not. You know who I didn't use in backyard baseball? Kurt
Frank
Schilling.
Thomas as a pitcher? Oh, Kurt Schilling as a pitcher?
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah,
That
not
was
Kurt.
true. That was true when I was a kid too. So I
Yeah.
was early. I was like something's off here.
You were ahead of that.
Who are my other favorites in terms of the kids? Mikey Thomas was always my catcher. Again, the defense wasn't always pretty, but man,
You
could
can
he
hide
hit.
him there.
Yeah, and again, like you couldn't really the left-handed power for Mikey Thomas was pretty rare. So I would say him. I mean Dante Robinson was certainly a delight.
Good clubhouse
then-
guy, too, I feel.
Great clubhouse guy. And then
The
if I
food
have
and
to
everything.
go, if I have to go one more, I don't know. Lisa Crockett. Why not?
Lisa Crockett. I was definitely partial
Just gonna
to
talk
Keisha
about-
Phillips and Ahmed Khan myself. I think
Yeah,
Keisha Loki had some
Keisha-
wheels, and Ahmed's bat from the right hand was special.
my Keisha take is she was better in the other sports. I actually thought she was
a problem on the defensive line in backyard football. Absolute problem.
Keisha in backyard football was.
She was Myles Garrett before Myles Garrett. She was crazy.
Yeah,
in the
and then
trenches.
she could catch some passes as well. So I thought she was a little overrated in baseball, but she definitely could ball out on the gridiron. So. But I mean, I could do a whole pod on backyard baseball. Honestly, we haven't streamed backyard baseball in a long time, but hopefully we'll bring.
I was gonna say, you used to stream, yeah. And I mean, you've done a podcast with one of the developers of it, have you not?
Yes, that was certainly a highlight. But yeah, I would love to bring that back. It's obviously more of an off-season thing, but we'll see. We'll see someday.
Jordan, if people want to find more of you guys, or Liam, did you have something that you wanted to add?
I had one more thing. Yes or no, Jordan? Mariners, are they a playoff team?
Yes.
Are the Red Sox?
Well,
that's a no.
After what we watched tonight,
actually, hold on. Let me just refresh myself on the standings before I say goodbye here.
I kind of don't think we are anymore.
This recent stretch has been ugly.
The Royals and the Mariners both got a lot better these last 5-6 days.
You know who didn't get better? The Minnesota Twins. So
that's true.
I am gonna. You know what, guys?
Oh, you're gonna
both? Yes to both.
Both of us. We'll be right there.
Oh my God! What a
wow!
Right there.
So you're saying the Royals will not?
I am. Oh, but I've been so high on the Royals.
All right. Hey, it's all right.
Whatever, guys. Hey, this is good, right? I could go on a bunch of different podcasts and get a bunch of different answers. So
yeah, you could.
There you go.
Hey, Royals podcast, invite me. I'll say you're making the playoffs.
There you go. Right, yeah, ball's in their court now.
Twins podcasts, but no, they're out. Yeah.
Jordan,
Thank
people want to hear more, read more, see more. Where can they go?
Baseball Barbacast is our podcast 3 times a week. We just recorded our whole deadline recap, talking about all 30 teams. That is what we do. I like to think we do it better than most people. And Yahoo Sports is where you can find all of our writing. We have a trade deadline tracker. I did all kinds of analysis that I was sending in over the last week. And I am doing what I'm going to go finish right now, gentlemen, is a piece ranking all the trades. I'm going to rank the trades. So we'll see how high this Luis Garcia for 4 players trade gets.
Top 5 and it ain't 5.
Craig's just getting rid of all the Rule 5 guys. It's all right. He's clearing them out.
Dude, big Nico Cavadas is going to hit a home run against the Red Sox at some point.
He's going to hit like a shotgun blast to the chest.
It's going to be, oh, man. All right, that's a good note to end on. Anyway, Quinn Priester.
Jake, thank you so much, man. If we end up meeting
that's Jordan, idiot.
Idiot. Say Jake Jordan. Jesus.
You're good. It's fine. I got to go find that Quinn Priester clip. But thank you. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. This was fun.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, man.